When the creature was first found near the outer fields of the small human settlement, nobody understood what it really was. All they knew was that a strange heat pattern had been detected by a passing research ship, and a team had gone down to investigate. People expected something dangerous, something wild, maybe even something hostile. And when the team returned carrying a small, trembling alien dragon, everyone took a step back without even thinking. The creature didn't look fierce at first glance, but it didn't look harmless either. Its scales were a mix of deep blue and soft gray, almost like storm clouds before rain. It had wings, but they were folded so tightly against its body that they were barely visible. It didn't roar or hiss, or do anything to threaten anyone. Instead, it kept lowering its head, curling its tail around itself as if trying to disappear. People didn't care about any of that. Their eyes only saw a dragon, and to them, dragons were creatures of danger. Even if this one looked scared, they convinced themselves it must be hiding something. That's how fear works when people don't understand something. They fill the space with their own worries. The research center placed the alien dragon in a secure holding area, not because it attacked anyone, but because they didn't know what it might do. The containment room had soft flooring, a wide resting platform, and warm lighting to make the creature feel safe. Yet the dragon still curled in the corner every day, shaking lightly whenever footsteps approached. Visitors started coming just to look at it, almost like an exhibit. They whispered things like, "It's terrifying," or "Why is it so still?" Maybe it's pretending, and sometimes nobody should go near that thing. Their words weren't loud, but the creature flinched every time, as if it understood the emotions behind them, even without knowing the language. One day, a young human boy arrived at the facility with his guardian, who worked part-time with the research team. The boy had come along simply because he had nowhere else to be that afternoon. He wasn't expecting anything unusual. But as they walked past the observation rooms, he noticed a group gathered near one large window. When he looked through the glass, he saw the shy alien dragon for the first time. It wasn't big no larger than a medium-sized dog, but it carried itself like a creature that wanted to be invisible. Its tail was wrapped around its legs, its wings pressed flat, and its head bent low so its small horns almost touched the floor. The boy felt a strange tug in his chest, something like quiet sadness. Everyone around the window was talking about how dangerous the creature looked, but he didn't see danger at all. He saw fear. While the adults discussed safety rules and procedures, the boy watched more closely. He noticed tiny details others ignored, the way the dragon's breathing quickened whenever someone tapped the glass, the way it lifted its head for a moment, only to shrink again when a loud laugh echoed through the hall. The boy found himself stepping closer without meaning to. His guardian noticed and gently held his shoulder. "Don't get too close. It might react." The boy nodded, but kept watching. Somehow, he knew that if the dragon were truly dangerous, it wouldn't be sitting quietly like this. It would be trying to break out, or at least showing some sign of aggression. But everything about its behavior said it was scared. The research team continued their observations for hours. They ran scans, checked the creature's temperature, studied its breathing, and tested the air around it for unknown chemicals. Through all of it, the dragon barely moved, except to shiver. Later that day, the boy returned to the viewing window while the adults filled out paperwork. He pressed his hand lightly against the glass, not to scare the creature, but to feel closer. The dragon didn't look up at first. It kept its head down like always. But then, slowly, one of its eyes opened. It was bright, a soft golden color, glowing gently under the room's lights. The eye glanced at the boy's hand on the glass, then at the boy's face. The dragon didn't jump. It didn't shrink away. It simply looked at him curious, confused, and still afraid, but not panicking. The boy's breath caught for a moment. He didn't know why, but that single eye looking at him felt like a silent conversation. Before he could say anything, his guardian called out, "Come on, we're leaving." The boy stepped back reluctantly, but the dragon kept watching until he was out of sight. Over the next few days, more people came to see the creature. Some came out of curiosity, some to brag that they had seen an alien dragon. A few came just to take a picture and then left. Nobody stayed long enough to notice the small things the boy had seen. The scientists tried to understand why the dragon wouldn't move. They gave it food that matched the readings from their scans, but the creature ate only when the room was empty. They tried soft music, warm air, different lighting. Nothing helped. The boy returned to the facility, often because his guardian worked there. He didn't tell anyone, but he started visiting the observation window every time. While others came and went quickly, he stayed. He didn't talk loudly. He didn't tap on the glass. He just watched quietly, hoping the creature would notice he wasn't there to scare it. And slowly, it did. Each time the boy appeared, the dragon lifted its head a little quicker. Its wings loosened slightly. Its tail uncurled by a few centimeters. These were tiny changes, but to the boy, they meant everything. He felt like the dragon understood he wasn't like the others. One afternoon, while the boy was looking at the dragon, he noticed something strange around its neck. It was a band, thin, metallic, almost blending perfectly with the dragon's scales. At first, he thought it was just part of the creature's natural body. But when he squinted, he saw a faint line around it that didn't match the rest of the scales. He leaned closer to the glass. The dragon shifted nervously, but didn't look away. The band looked like a collar, but not a collar used by humans. It had tiny markings, faded and scratched, like symbols from a language nobody here recognized. Because the creature always stayed curled up, nobody had noticed the collar before. But now, under the soft light and from the angle the boy stood at, it was clear. The boy tapped lightly on the window, not in a harsh way, but gently, just enough to try gaining the dragon's attention. The creature blinked and lifted its head fully for the first time since arriving at the facility. The boy smiled at the reaction. "There's something on your neck," he whispered softly, knowing the dragon probably couldn't hear him through the soundproof wall, but saying it anyway. The creature didn't understand the words, but it tilted its head slightly, following the boy's eyes as if trying to understand what he was looking at. The boy felt a sudden urge to tell someone about the strange collar, but he paused. Everyone else treated the dragon like something dangerous. Would they listen if he said he found something important? Or would they ignore him like they ignored anything that didn't match their fears? Still, he knew he had to mention it. The collar might hold answers, maybe about where the dragon came from, or who it belonged to, or why it ended up here alone. That evening, he approached one of the senior researchers and quietly explained what he had seen. The researcher didn't dismiss him. Instead, she raised an eyebrow with interest. "A collar? Are you sure?" "I think so," the boy said. "It has markings on it, like writing." This time, someone listened. Within minutes, the research team gathered around the observation window with scanners and enhanced lighting. When they directed the soft beams toward the dragon's neck, the markings became clear to everyone. The room fell silent. Nobody understood the script. Nobody recognized the style, but everyone knew what it meant. This creature wasn't wild. It wasn't lost. It wasn't dangerous. It belonged to someone. And for the first time since arriving on the settlement, the alien dragon lifted its head with a small, hopeful sound, as if sensing that someone finally saw it not as a threat, but as something more. The research team spent the rest of the evening studying the strange collar on the alien dragon's neck. They took images, zoomed in, applied different filters, and even tried scanners that could read trace metals. The collar wasn't made of anything humans had seen before. It wasn't tight or harmful, but it was definitely placed there by someone with purpose. It didn't look like a trap. It looked more like a label or a tag, something created to give information about the creature. But nobody could read the markings. The boy stood behind the group of adults, watching quietly as they worked. He kept his eyes on the dragon, who had shifted slightly so the collar was more visible. The creature wasn't panicking like before. It seemed uncertain, but calm, almost as if it sensed the humans were finally trying to understand instead of fear it. One of the researchers stepped back and rubbed his forehead. "We need a translation tool. Something advanced." Another researcher nodded. "But the script is unlike anything in our databases. Even the Central Galactic Library might not match this." The boy listened, but didn't interrupt. He didn't want to sound like a child in the middle of serious discussions. But he remembered something important. He had a simple handheld translator in his backpack. It wasn't advanced like the ones researchers used, but it did have a universal language recognition tool designed for old alien dialects. He mainly used it to translate signs or labels from different planets when traveling. He hesitated. Would a simple device like his actually help? Would the adults take him seriously? But then he looked at the dragon again, staring with those soft golden eyes, almost waiting. And he realized it didn't matter if the adults ignored him. What mattered was trying. He stepped closer to one of the researchers and spoke softly. "I have something that might work." They looked at him, surprised. "What do you mean?" "I have a handheld translator. It can read old scripts sometimes." There was a short silence. Then one of the researchers nodded. "Bring it. It's worth a try." The boy quickly opened his backpack, pulling out the small device. It wasn't fancy, just a palm-sized rectangle with a simple lens and a small screen. But he held it carefully, hoping it wouldn't fail him at this important moment. The researchers cleared the area around the glass so he could stand closer. He raised the device, pointed it toward the markings on the collar, and pressed the scan button. A small blue light flickered. The device hummed gently as it analyzed the symbols. The dragon's eye shifted toward the glowing light, curious but not afraid. Its wings twitched slightly, just enough to show it wasn't frozen with fear anymore. Everyone waited. The translator made a soft beep. The screen lit up, showing lines of text forming slowly. The boy's heart beat faster as he saw the words appear. He didn't speak yet. He just stared, reading carefully. A moment later he whispered, "It's working." The researchers leaned in closer. "What does it say?" The boy swallowed and read aloud, slowly, trying not to stumble. "It says, 'This creature is a youngling from a peaceful species.' It says, 'It is shy and becomes scared when separated from its group.'" The room went silent. The dragon watched them carefully. Almost sensing the shift in mood. The boy continued reading. "It also says the species forms strong emotional bonds with the first being who treats them with gentleness." Someone in the room whispered, "Are you sure that's correct?" The boy nodded. He wasn't guessing. The device displayed the translation clearly. With confirmation symbols. The researchers exchanged looks, surprised, embarrassed, and thoughtful all at once. For days they'd assumed the creature was dangerous. For days they'd kept their distance and spoken about it like a threat. Now they were learning that the dragon wasn't just non-aggressive. It was actually a creature that needed comfort, connection, and kindness. One researcher sighed. "No wonder it's so scared. It's not trying to hide anything. It's lonely." Another added quietly, "We misjudged it." The boy kept reading. "The label says that if a youngling is separated from its family, it might shut down emotionally. It becomes still and silent because it doesn't know how to protect itself." That explained everything: the curling, the shaking, the way it refused to move. The dragon hadn't been plotting anything. It had been overwhelmed with fear. The boy felt a wave of sympathy wash over him. He looked back at the creature, whose wings now twitched softly, as if reacting to the sudden attention. For the first time, the dragon looked less like a mysterious creature and more like a frightened, lost child trying desperately to feel safe. One of the researchers spoke gently. "Can you read the rest?" The boy nodded and continued. "The label says the youngling will respond most to the one who first approaches it without fear or harm. That's how the bonding works." Everyone turned their gaze toward the boy, almost at the same time. He blinked, confused. "What?" One researcher stepped forward. "It reacted to you. Didn't you say it looked at you earlier? Lifted its head?" The boy nodded slowly. He had seen the dragon move more in front of him than with anyone else. But he didn't want to assume anything. Maybe it just got curious. "No," another researcher said softly. "You approached quietly. You didn't poke at it. You didn't treat it like something to fear or something to take photos of. You simply watched it. That matters." The boy felt a mix of warmth and nervousness. He didn't know if he had done anything special. He had only been gentle, because he couldn't stand seeing something so scared. The adults continued discussing, but the boy's attention drifted back to the dragon. The creature wasn't shaking anymore. Instead, it was watching him calmly, openly. Its wings loosened a little more, and its tail uncurled, just enough for him to see a small glowing line running along it. The boy slowly lifted the translator device again. The dragon didn't flinch. It didn't move away. It simply tilted its head, curious. The boy decided to try something small. He lifted his hand and placed it gently on the glass, just like he had done before. The dragon blinked and inched closer. Only a little, but enough that everyone noticed. The boy felt his throat tighten. He never expected such a creature to trust him, even in a tiny way. One of the researchers whispered, "Look at that." Nobody said anything else. Nobody dared to break the moment. Hours passed as they studied more details from the translation. The boy learned that the creature's species communicated through soft sounds that humans couldn't hear. They responded to warmth, calm tones, and slow movements. They avoided sudden gestures and loud noises because their senses were extremely sensitive. The adults started making plans to adjust the creature's room softer lights, warmer temperature, quieter equipment. Everything they had thought they needed for safety was actually making the dragon more afraid. The boy helped whenever he could, at least by staying close to reassure the creature while the room adjustments were happening. At one point, when the researchers stepped away to prepare a report, the boy stood alone by the window again. The dragon shifted slightly, lifting its head until its eyes met his fully. The boy could see the soft glow in them clearly now. The creature didn't look dangerous at all. It looked gentle, like something that wanted to understand and be understood. He whispered quietly, even though the soundproof barrier blocked everything. "It's okay. You're not alone anymore." The dragon blinked slowly, almost like a nod. The boy felt something change inside him. He didn't know what the future held or how long the creature would stay at the facility, but he felt connected to it. Not in a magical way, not in a mysterious way, just in a simple, human way, one being seeing another being scared and wanting to make that fear go away. By the time the night ended, the researchers had agreed to continue studying the caller the next day. They wanted to know more where the dragon came from, how it got lost, what its species customs were. But for now, the room dimmed, and the dragon finally relaxed enough to lower its head gently onto the resting platform. As the boy walked away with his guardian, he looked back. One last time, the dragon wasn't curled tightly in a fearful ball. Wasn't trembling. It was watching him leave with calm, quiet eyes. And for the first time since arriving at the settlement, the creature looked like it believed that maybe, just maybe, someone finally understood it. The next morning, the boy reached the research center earlier than usual. His guardian had to finish some reports, and the boy didn't want to stay home when he knew the alien dragon was still trying to understand this strange new place. He walked through the quiet hallways, noticing how different the building felt compared to yesterday. The lights were softer, the humming machines had been turned down, and the usual crowd around the observation window was gone. The air felt calmer, and the boy hoped the creature felt that too. When he reached the window, he froze. The dragon wasn't curled in the corner like before. Instead, it sat on the resting platform, its wings slightly open, as if stretching after a long sleep. Its posture wasn't defensive. It looked almost comfortable. The boy felt a warm stir in his chest. The dragon lifted its head the moment it sensed movement. Its golden eyes focused on the boy before anything else. For a moment, the two simply looked at each other, sharing a quiet connection through the glass wall. One of the researchers standing nearby smiled. "It's been more active since last night. We think your presence helped it feel safe." The boy didn't know what to say. He didn't think he had done anything special, but somehow the dragon acted differently when he was around. Maybe the translation from the caller was right. Maybe this species did choose someone who approached gently. A senior researcher approached with a tablet in hand. "We decoded another part of the caller's markings," she said. "It explains that the species relies heavily on emotional signals. They feel what others feel: fear, calm, anger, kindness. They sense it more than they understand language." The boy nodded slowly. That made sense. The dragon always reacted to emotions more than actions. Loud people made it shrink. Calm people made it peek out. And for some reason, the dragon seemed to pick up something safe from him. The researcher continued, "The translation also says their bonding is not forced. It happens naturally with whoever shows them patience and care." She gave the boy a gentle look. "That appears to be you." He felt a mixture of pride and nervousness. "So, what should I do?" "For now," she answered, "just keep doing what you've been doing. Stay calm, stay gentle. Don't rush it." The boy nodded and stepped closer to the glass again. He pressed his hand lightly against it, just like before. The dragon blinked, then slowly stood up. It stretched its small wings, revealing faint lines of light running through them, like glowing veins. The boy had never seen anything like that. The creature took a slow step toward him. Then another. Then, almost cautiously, it rested its forehead against the glass too, right where his hand was. The boy's breath caught. He didn't want to move. He didn't want to break the moment. Someone behind him whispered, "Look at that. It's trusting him." The dragon stayed like that for several long seconds before stepping back. Its wings folded neatly, and its tail curled comfortably, instead of tightly gripping its own legs. The researchers watched carefully. "This confirms it," one of them said. "It recognizes him as someone safe." The boy didn't know why that simple sentence made his chest feel heavy in a good way. He wasn't a scientist. He wasn't part of the research team. He was just a kid who didn't like seeing something scared. Yet somehow he had become the dragon's comfort. Later that afternoon, the team decided to try something new. They wanted to let the dragon walk around the room freely, without the bright overhead lights or loud machines. They dimmed everything, added warm air currents, and adjusted the floor to feel softer under the creature's feet. The dragon watched them curiously. Not frightened, just unsure. The boy stayed by the window the whole time, and whenever the creature seemed confused, it would glance at him, as if checking whether it was still safe. As soon as the environment was ready, the lead researcher spoke. "We want to see if it reacts to your voice. We know it can't hear through the barrier, but it can sense tone through vibration." The boy hesitated, but agreed. He stepped closer to the glass and softly spoke. "Hey." It's okay. You're safe. No one will hurt you. The dragon lifted its head, ears twitching. It didn't back away. In fact, it stepped closer again, making a soft humming noise that vibrated lightly against the window. It wasn't loud, but it was enough to make the researchers stare. One of them quickly typed notes. It's communicating. That hum is like a greeting. The boy smiled without even thinking. Hi, he whispered again, smiling softly. The creature hummed back, this time. Some of the researchers laughed under their breath. Not mockingly, but in pure amazement. For the next hour, they observed every small behavior. The dragon tested its wings by lifting them halfway, then lowering them again. It walked in slow circles, sniffed the edges of the room, and even touched the floor with its claws, as if testing its texture. Every few minutes, it glanced at the boy to make sure he was still their dot, when the dragon discovered a patch of warm air flowing near the floor. It stretched out on its belly, closing its eyes as if enjoying a moment of comfort. This was the first time anyone had seen it truly relax. It's like watching a scared child come out of hiding. One researcher said quietly. The boy agreed silently in his mind. That was exactly what it felt like. Later, as the boy prepared to leave for the day, the dragon suddenly stood up and walked toward the window. It looked directly at him with wide eyes, as if it understood he was going. The boy hesitated, feeling an unexpected pull in his chest. He placed his hand against the glass again. The creature lifted its head and leaned gently toward him, humming one more time. It was a softer sound than before. A goodbye sound, the boy guessed. Don't worry, he whispered. I'll come back tomorrow. The dragon blinked slowly, like a calm nod dot, as the boy walked down the hallway with his guardian. He kept turning back until the dragon was out of sight. Even then, he couldn't shake the feeling that he was leaving behind someone who genuinely relied on him. That night, he couldn't stop thinking about the creature. He wondered where it came from. He wondered what its family was like. He wondered how long it had been alone. He didn't know if it missed its home, or if it was still scared of this world. But he knew one thing for sure. The dragon didn't feel alone anymore. Not completely. The next day started differently. When the boy entered the facility, he found the researchers not gathered around screens, but discussing something quietly amongst themselves. They stopped when he approached. One researcher stepped forward. We found something new on the collar. The boy's heart jumped. What is it? It describes what happened to its transport group. It says the younglings were being moved during a migration journey, and there was an accident. Some got separated. This one drifted far from its family. The boy felt his stomach tighten. The dragon wasn't just lost. It had gone through something painful, something confusing. No wonder it had been so scared. Another researcher added, the collar also explains that once a youngling bonds with someone, separating them can cause emotional harm. That's how their species works. The boy looked through the glass again at the creature. It was already watching him, wings slightly lifted like it recognized him instantly. He whispered softly, I'm not going anywhere. The dragon stepped closer. As if understanding exactly what he meant, the researchers exchanged quiet glances. They all knew what this meant. Even if no one said it yet, the boy wasn't just someone the dragon trusted. He had become the center of its safety. The discovery changed everything. It wasn't just a creature to study anymore. It was a young being with feelings, fears, memories, and a bond forming stronger by the day. And the boy felt that bond too more deeply than he expected. For the first time since arriving at the settlement, the alien dragon wasn't alone. And for the first time, the boy felt like he had found something rare and important, something that relied on him, trusted him, and believed in him without hesitation. This was no longer just research. This was the beginning of something meaningful, something gentle, something unspoken between a scared creature and the one human who chose to look past fear. The morning after this strange discovery, the boy woke up earlier than usual. For a moment he forgot where he was, but when he heard the soft breathing near the foot of his bed, everything came rushing back. The shy alien dragon was curled neatly on the carpet, its tail wrapped around its body, its wings folded like a blanket. Even in sleep, the creature looked nervous, as if any loud sound would send it running to hide again. The boy sat up slowly, careful not to disturb it. He just watched it for a while, trying to understand how something that looked so unusual could seem so lonely at the same time. He remembered the ancient alien label he had read on its collar, the strange symbols he had somehow understood in a way that surprised even him. Those symbols explained that the dragon wasn't dangerous, but misunderstood, raised to serve, yet never treated with kindness. He thought about that label again and again. Maybe that was the reason nobody wanted it. Maybe everyone saw a creature that looked different and decided it was too much trouble to deal with. But now that it was here, sleeping on his bedroom floor, he realized it wasn't trouble at all. It was scared, gentle, and completely unsure of its place in the world. He got off the bed quietly and moved toward the window. The sun was rising, casting a soft orange light that slowly crawled over the sleeping creature. At one point, its wings twitched, almost like it felt the warmth. Eventually, the dragon woke up, blinking a few times before lifting its head. Its eyes were softer today, less afraid. It looked up at the boy as if waiting for instructions or maybe reassurance. He wasn't sure. "Good morning," the boy whispered, not even knowing if it understood. But the dragon tilted its head, and something in its expression felt like an answer. He reached out his hand, slow enough not to frighten it. After a moment of hesitation, the dragon stretched its neck forward and lightly touched its snout against his palm. Not a strong push, just a tiny nudge, like it was testing the idea of trust. The boy felt the weight of that tiny gesture more than he expected. He gently scratched behind its jaw, and the dragon leaned into his touch, its eyes closing in relief. It was so different from yesterday, when it flinched at every movement, afraid someone would yell at it or shove it away again. Today, it was starting to believe he wouldn't do that. He went to the kitchen to get breakfast. The dragon followed behind him carefully, stepping so softly that even its claws made no sound on the floor. Every now and then, it would pause to sniff the air or peek at a corner of the house it had never seen. It stayed close, almost as if the boy was the only safe thing it knew. When he reached the kitchen, the guardian, a quiet older man who had taken care of the boy since he was younger, was already awake. He had deep lines on his face, the kind that came from years of responsibility, but his eyes were firm and calm. He looked at the dragon, then at the boy. "You're sure about this?" the guardian asked. The boy nodded. "It just needs someone to care about it." The guardian studied the creature. The dragon shrank back slightly, but not as much as yesterday. It was still afraid of adults, clearly expecting harshness, but the boy stepped between them without even thinking about it. That small act made the dragon relax a little. The guardian sighed. "As long as it listens and doesn't cause any harm, it can stay for now. But you need to be responsible." "I will," the boy answered immediately. They prepared food, unsure what an alien dragon ate. They tried fruit, cooked food, even bread. The dragon sniffed each one politely, but didn't seem interested until the boy offered it a bowl of warm rice with a bit of broth. Surprisingly, it ate slowly, almost shyly, as though afraid someone might grab the bowl away. The boy sat next to it on the floor the whole time, letting it eat in peace. The guardian watched them silently. He didn't understand the creature, and maybe he didn't completely trust it yet, but he trusted the boy's judgment. That was enough for now. After breakfast, the boy decided to show the dragon the backyard. It was a small, fenced area with a patch of grass, a few old trees, and the rusty remains of a swing set. When he opened the door, the dragon stepped out carefully, blinking as the sunlight hit its scales. In the light, its colors looked even more beautiful, soft shades of blue and silver that shifted with each movement. The dragon stretched its wings slightly, not enough to scare anyone, but just enough to feel the wind pass through them. It seemed surprised by the open space, unsure of how to use it. The boy stepped onto the grass and motioned for it to follow. When it did, he noticed something. Its steps became lighter, almost joyful, though it tried to hide it. It was like watching a child discover freedom for the first time. He picked up a falling leaf and tossed it gently into the air. The dragon watched it sway downward, its eyes following every movement. When another leaf drifted down, the dragon finally moved. It leaped forward with surprising grace, catching the leaf in its mouth before landing softly on its feet. The boy laughed. The dragon froze, as if expecting the laughter to be mocking. But when it noticed he was genuinely happy, it relaxed again. For the next hour they played with leaves, small sticks, anything the dragon seemed curious about. It wasn't like playing with a pet. There was something deeper about it. The creature wasn't just moving around for fun. It was relearning how to exist without fear. At one moment, the dragon spread its wings wider than before. The boy stepped back, worried it might try to fly away, but instead it only lifted itself a few inches off the ground before coming back down gently. It wasn't trying to escape. It was practicing, testing its strength. The boy realized something then. This creature had never been allowed to fly freely. The label on its collar made it clear that it had lived under strict control, trained to obey, not to live. The thought made him want to protect it even more. Later that day, a neighbor passed by the backyard fence. She was an older woman who always noticed everything. When she saw the dragon, she let out a small gasp, and the dragon instantly hid behind the boy, trembling. The woman stared, but didn't scream or run. She narrowed her eyes, trying to decide if the creature was dangerous. "It won't hurt anyone," the boy said quickly. "It's just scared." The woman raised an eyebrow. "Are you sure about that?" "It's shy and gentle, just different." The woman didn't fully believe him, but she didn't argue. She continued walking, shaking her head, but not saying much else. The dragon stayed behind the boy until she was completely gone, only coming out when it felt safe again. As the day went on, the boy realized something important. The dragon wasn't afraid of him or the house or the guardian. It was afraid of everyone else. Afraid of being rejected again. And that fear came from a lifetime of it. That evening, when the sky turned dark and the first stars appeared, the boy sat beside the dragon under the old tree. The dragon rested its head near his knee, tired from all the new experiences. He gently placed his hand on its neck, feeling the slow, steady breathing. "You're safe here," he whispered. The dragon opened its eyes slightly, as if listening. Then it nudged his hand again, the same gentle nudge from the morning, but this time with more confidence. The boy felt something warm in his chest, something he hadn't felt in a long time. Not just responsibility, not just curiosity. It felt like connection. He didn't know what tomorrow would bring. He didn't know how others would react when they found out. But he knew one thing for certain. This shy alien dragon had found someone who finally understood it, and he wasn't going to let anything take that away. The dragon shifted closer, curling around him in a protective shape, despite being the one who needed protection the most. Its wings folded softly, its breathing slowed, and its eyes closed. The boy stayed there with it, watching the quiet night sky, feeling the steady heartbeat of a creature that the world had ignored. Tomorrow, there would be challenges. People might question it. Some might fear it. But tonight, in the calm of the backyard, the boy and the shy alien dragon had something simple and rare. Trust. and that was the beginning of everything that was yet to come. The next morning began in an unexpected way. The boy woke up to a soft sound near his window, almost like someone gently knocking from the outside. At first, he thought it was wind brushing against the glass. But when he sat up, he saw the shy alien dragon already awake, standing near the window with its ears perked up. Its posture was tense, its eyes focused. He sat up straight. "What's wrong?" He whispered Dot. The dragon didn't answer, of course, but it gave a low hum that sounded uncertain. It nudged the curtains aside with its snout, revealing the front yard. The boy moved closer and peeked through the window. There were two unfamiliar vehicles parked near the gate. Not police cars, thankfully, but official-looking transport units with a metallic crest on the side. The boy had seen that logo before. It belonged to the local research team that investigated unusual creatures and alien artifacts. His stomach dropped. For a moment, everything in the room went silent. Even the air felt heavy. The dragon took a small step back, eyes narrowing with fear. Its wings twitched, and its claws dug softly into the carpet. Dot, the boy slowly knelt beside it. "They're not here to hurt you," he whispered, though he wasn't sure if that was fully true. "But you need to stay calm." There was another knock, this time on the front door. A proper, firm one. The kind that meant business. Dot, the guardian called the boy's name from the hallway. "Come downstairs. We need to talk." The boy gave the dragon one gentle stroke along its neck and motioned for it to stay hidden. The dragon understood enough to crouch behind the bed, pressing itself low, trying to make its body small. He walked downstairs with his heart pounding. Two researchers stood at the door. They weren't dressed in anything threatening, simple uniforms, calm expressions, not even carrying tools. But their presence alone made him uneasy. One of them, a tall woman with a clipboard, spoke politely. "We received reports that an unidentified creature was seen in this neighborhood. We're checking houses to make sure everyone is safe." The guardian acted calm, though the boy saw the tension in his jaw. "Everything is fine here. No creature, no problem." The other researcher looked around the yard and sniffed the air slightly, as if sensing something unusual. "If you see anything, or if something appears later, please inform us immediately. It could be dangerous." The boy clenched his fists but kept quiet. Eventually, after asking a few more questions, the two researchers thanked them and walked back toward their vehicles. They didn't force entry, and they didn't seem fully suspicious yet. But they also didn't seem fully convinced. When the vehicles drove off, the boy finally exhaled. Dot, the guardian closed the door and looked at him with a serious expression. "They'll be back," he said, "and they won't stop checking until they find what they're looking for." The boy swallowed hard. "We can't let them take it." The guardian sighed. "I know." They both went upstairs. When the boy entered his room, the dragon rushed toward him, gently bumping its head against his chest, as if asking what was happening. It looked terrified, even shaking a little. He wrapped his arms loosely around it, not tightly, not to trap it, but to comfort. "It's okay. I'm here." The dragon pressed its forehead against his shoulder. Its breath came out warm and shaky. He sat on the floor with it for a long moment, not saying anything. He just stayed there, letting the creature calm down. He could feel how fragile it still was on the inside. A whole life of fear didn't disappear overnight. After the dragon relaxed a little, the guardian joined them in the room. "We need a plan," the guardian said quietly. "They know something is here. Maybe they didn't want to cause a scene today, but they'll return with more authority next time." The boy looked at the dragon, whose eyes flickered with understanding. It wasn't dumb. It knew it was in danger. "We can't hide it forever," the guardian continued. "But maybe we can help people see it differently." The boy shook his head. Nobody gave it a chance before. Why would they start now? "Because," the guardian said. "You're the first person to read what's on that collar. And you're the one who actually listened." The boy frowned. "Should we show them the label?" "Maybe, but not yet." For the rest of the morning, they stayed indoors. The dragon stayed close to the boy, never straying more than a few steps away. Whenever there was a noise outside a car door, a barking dog, even a passing motorbike, the dragon's wings tensed and its tail curled around the boy's leg like an anchor dot around noon. The guardian suggested they go to the backyard for some fresh air. The boy agreed. They stepped outside carefully, checking the street first. Everything looked normal again. Once outside, the dragon wandered slowly, sniffing the flowers, the trees, the ground. The sunlight brought out a shimmer in its scales, making it look almost magical. The boy couldn't help but stare in admiration. He picked up a stick and drew a small line in the dirt. The dragon watched curiously. Then it used its claw to make its own tiny line beside his. It wasn't random, it was deliberate, careful, almost thoughtful. "You're smart," the boy whispered with a smile. The dragon responded with a soft rumble. Not loud, not aggressive, just warm. But their peaceful moment didn't last long. A neighbor's child spotted them from the house behind the fence. She was very young, maybe around 5 years old, holding a toy in her hand. Her big eyes widened when she saw the dragon. The dragon froze instantly, fear taking over again. Before the child could scream or run away, she did something unexpected. She waved, not scared, not confused, just a simple, innocent wave. The boy waved back nervously, putting a finger over his lips to ask her not to shout. She nodded, understanding in a way only children sometimes do. The dragon tilted its head, confused by the harmless gesture. When the child giggled softly, the dragon's posture eased. The boy realized something important. Fear spreads fast, but kindness spreads just as quickly, sometimes faster. After a minute, the child was called back inside her home, and she disappeared behind the curtain again. The boy looked at the dragon. "See? Not everyone is scared." The dragon blinked slowly, maybe thinking about it. Later that evening, something surprising happened. The guardian brought out the old book he kept stored away in a wooden box. It wasn't a regular book. It was filled with alien symbols, ancient markings, and strange diagrams. The boy had never seen it before. "This belonged to someone who studied alien languages," the guardian said. "Maybe it can help us understand more about that collar of yours." The boy opened the book carefully. The symbols inside were almost identical to the ones on the dragon's collar. He traced his finger across the page. The words didn't look familiar, yet somehow he could sense their meaning, like a quiet voice in the back of his mind. He turned to the dragon. "Your collar wasn't just a label. It's a message." The dragon stared at him, listening attentively. "It says you were meant to bond with someone who sees you for who you are, not what you look like." The dragon blinked slowly, then stepped closer, touching its forehead gently to his chest again. It wasn't just affection. It was acknowledgement, a soft bond, a real one. But the guardian interrupted gently. "If that's true, then losing you would destroy them. Whoever owned you before didn't understand. Maybe they feared you. Maybe they tried to use you." The boy nodded slowly. "But I won't let anyone use you again." That night, they sat in the backyard again, looking at the sky. The dragon curled around the boy like a warm shield. The stars were bright, quiet, comforting. The boy spoke softly. "I don't know what will happen tomorrow, but I promise I won't let anyone take you away." The dragon lifted its head slightly, its eyes reflecting the starlight. Then, as gently as a breeze, it rested its head beside the boy and closed its eyes. He placed his hand on its neck. No more fear, no more rejection. Whatever happened next, They would face it together, human and dragon, bonded not by force, but by trust. And for the first time, the dragon looked like it truly belonged somewhere.